No, I mean, architecture is political. We gotta add that stuff.
Indeed.
We're tearing down communities to build multifamily, and you have to understand we are creating displacement. You're displacing Black and brown folks, and they don't come back.
Half of this podcast would be dedicated to the history of Powerhouse, my journey and my discoveries, and hey, I'm going to solve this housing problem.
Hey guys, what's up? My name is Melissa Daniels. This is the Architecture is Political podcast where Black and brown folks talk about architecture. I hope you enjoyed this podcast and be part of my storytelling. I'm always seeking authentic conversations, especially about business, entrepreneurship in the design field. And when it's a Black owned, that's just the icing on the vegan cake. I'm not vegan. So when I had the opportunity to talk to Kia Weatherspoon, now I've been stalking this woman for a long time, ever since I came across something of hers on LinkedIn. I became obsessed with her. I can't believe it's been like almost 10 years, if not 10 years, since she started Determined by Design. I actually met her. It was a Black Women in Architecture brunch. And of course, shout out to, again, Nikita Reed of Tangible Remnants for inviting her. And afterwards, we went to Founding Farmers. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's sitting next to me. She's so dapper. And like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe. Like I was just quietly girl fanning over her, and I probably sound like an idiot when I was talking to her then, but I don't think she remembers this at all. I usually bring up how I met you or whatever, but in this conversation I think it happened off air. So why am I such a fangirl of Kia Weatherspoon? It's her focus and her determination. I guess she knew what her business is. She's constantly, this is what I love about her. This is it. Is that she's constantly changing. She's constantly have her finger on the pulse of what is going on around her. Whether it's design, whether it's policy, whether it's trending. And I'm going to say a quote from this episode that really stuck by me. I leaned into ignorance to gain better understanding. I mean, come on. If that isn't Aristotle, I don't know who is. Because it defines her, I think. Her background, like how she grew up and all that, we didn't get into any of that. She is well documented. As a matter of fact, if you go on arcispoly.online, you'll see a longer bio for Kia, as well as presentation she did via YouTube. Well, it's posted on YouTube. I suggest you check that out. Or, she's been on other podcasts. I just Google her just to get her background story. I wanted to focus this episode on the business side. And just like a real talk business side of like, how did you do it? I asked some of the questions I've been wanting to ask her as a fangirl. A couple of things I got out of it. Language is important. She refers to her teammates, our employees, partners, our clients. And her point about doing this is that everything is rooted in hierarchy. And it's so true. And a little side note, I've been going back and forth on titles and going back and forth on education related to titles. So right now, I don't use the title that my current employer has on me because I can't use it because I'm not licensed. But I've been debating as to what I should call myself if I'm not allowing my employer to define me. And it's tricky. And you know why it's tricky? It's because that's what people hold on to. And I'm trying to fight that. So right now I'm going with architectural designer. I was thinking about just going with designer, but I also want people to know that I'm still in architecture. So maybe I should do designer architecture, design architecture. I'm a design architecture. That doesn't sound right either. I'll figure it out. It's debatable because it's how other people perceives you. You're a principal. You're an associate principal. You're a senior ... And when I go on these platforms and I'm looking at people who look like me, they all have these titles that I don't have. Of course, I could be CEO of anything. I could be principal of my own company. And I tell myself that all the time. I could be principal of my own company. Because, what's in a title? But it means something to other people. It's the same with education. And I've always heard this argument that it doesn't matter what school you go to, it's how you can perform. If you can't put a construction set together, then what does it matter? But it matters. An interview that's coming up with Dr. Hazel Edwards, we get into that a little bit. A lot of things I carry every time I interview somebody, and that right there was what I carried out of that interview. And it bleeds into this one too, about hierarchies and how this entire world is based on that. Architecture is based on that. Even in office planning, and we're like, nobody gets office because everybody has an equal station, even though that principal out in the corner with the open office has the biggest desk and has the corner view. I mean, you might as well put 4 walls around them. So I've been debating about that and trying to find the right things to say. Or even in my bio, I always struggle with my bio, and I know why is a struggle, because some people it's not a struggle. Some people have other people write it for them, but it's because I'm not defined, and I've been trying to define myself. So there's that. Another thing about this episode that we talked about, transparency. Oh, I love this topic because Kia really nailed this. The cost of material. And for us who have worked on CA, know that, and I personally haven't signed a payment application because of the projects that I've done. It's not for me to sign. Out of my experience, no one has ever questioned the contractor, how much things cost. This is too expensive for us, so let's pick another material. And we will go and look at other material, but we never, why is this, well, how much does it cost? Because when I quoted it, it wasn't this price. I've never heard anybody say that. And this is me. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. But in my own personal experience, I've yet to hear someone who's doing construction administration challenge the GC on the quote that he or she or it received. Instead, we're like, okay, well, what are the alternatives? Because we just shuffle along. Oh, and let you guys know, there is explicit language. Normally, I wouldn't say this, but it's above my meter in terms of explicit language. It's just curse words. We didn't get vulgar. It's just a bunch of curse words. Enough of me talking. Here you go. I want to know, who is your photographer and makeup artist? Because your photos, I'm like, I need to get on your level.
My makeup artist is this Lord, it's gonna lose my brain. So my photographer is this woman named Ronisha, Black woman. She's in DC. And then my makeup artist is Amber Singletary. My other makeup artist, who I fly out sometimes, is this girl who used to be my neighbor in Portsmouth, Virginia. Her name is Tia, and she lives in LA. So lately I've been kind of just, when I can and when I have the means, I'll fly her out and she'll do my makeup. But those are my two people.
How'd you find them?
How did I find them? Oh, my sister, her name is Kayanda Powell. She had used her and I liked her work and I reached out to her and we just had a really great photo shoot. Ronisha she had makeup artists she liked, so I had used Amber and it just worked out. But prior to that, and one of the things that I always knew people were going to buy at Kia And I always had to present the best version of me. So like one of my headshots has the word fuck in it. And everybody was like, I can't believe it. I'm like, but that's me. But those are my people. Those are the people who captured me gloriously.
And you knew that was important. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
From the jump, or
absolutely, because I knew everything I represented. So I often lean into being the only, right? I knew I was always going to be the only woman, the only Black person, the only Black woman with natural hair. And because good Black don't crack, I knew I was always going to be perceived younger than what I was or what I am. So I leaned into that. I leaned into showing up as that Black woman. That's how I leaned into it. 3-day-old hair, not the fresh wash and go, but 3-day-old, to scare the white people and to inspire the young Black girls who saw me in this space. And I specifically say young Black girls because there are not a lot of Black men in the interior design space. But I want to be like, damn, she could show up like that? Yup. $4 hoop earrings and everything.
The entrepreneurship bug came because, like everybody else, we all just sick of working for other people, sick of, being in a room by ourselves and not leading the conversation. And you wanted to lead the conversation. That jump, how did you do it? And, you've answered this question, yes. But Kia, like someone like me, right? I am scared shitless of being on my own, because how the hell you afford to do that? Was it a side gig and then it came a full-time gig? Did you just jump right in it head first? Or was it like, fuck it, I can't take this anymore. I'm just going, like, what? From me to you, and no one else is listening.
Okay, so this is what I said. You said, I heard you just say, I'm scared to be alone. Is that what you just said?
Yeah. And right. let me preface that, right? Because when you work for somebody, you could walk away. This is not my problem. Like I can always say, this is not my problem. I quit. Okay. That's what I mean by being alone.
Okay. So, and I think we were just talking about this prior to you hitting record, right? Being a child of an addict, having a brother incarcerated, our family going through this thing where my brother needed everything, so Kia could need nothing. So I kind of grew up alone, right? And always kind of fending for myself. Does that, so when you say that, I was like, oh, that was my whole fucking childhood. Fending for myself, right? So when I made this jump to start my business, it came from, yes, I didn't want to go work for another interior design firm that had white leadership. I didn't want to go work for an interior design firm and make less money. And then I didn't want to go work for another firm and not enjoy what I was doing, because I really loved interior design. And I was like, well, what can you do? I was like, oh, you just start your own business. Okay. I did not have 6 months of my salary saved up, because if that was the case, I would still be working for somebody today. This is where my military experience comes into play, because I went into the military at such an extreme point. It was like right after September 11th, right? So in my mind, sacrifice is loss of life or limb. I knew I wasn't going to die. I was just like, why not? Why not? That's how I approach most things. Like, am I going to die? No? Okay. Jump, motherfucker. Go. And that's it. Again, I don't want to keep harping on this be a child of an addict thing, but this is where like your life kind of, it can happen to you or you can make it work for you. Children of addicts, we are very fearless, or what is that? That's the opposite of risk averse, because all we know is chaos, commotion, and inconsistency. So I'm like, oh, that's my jam. Jump right into that shit. And that's how I figured I think at my core, that's how I was able to navigate, start a business. I had no business plan. I knew nothing about a business. It was like my ignorance was my bliss. Like, why not? Why not? Go.
How'd you know your worth?
Because my work ethic is a beast. Period. Name me a Black woman that don't got a bomb ass work ethic. Find me one. I always knew at the end of the day, I will work hard. I believe in more is more. I'd be like, all right, okay, I want this amount. Let me just see what happened if I add 20%. And then I said, what happens if I add 30%? I just always knew because I knew I worked hard. And when I couldn't find the answers, I remember when I first started my company, I was like, how much should I charge? And I would call people and be like, hey, how much do you charge? They don't want to tell me shit. I'm like, oh, we just interior designers. Fine, cool. Then I would fake call, act like a potential client, and then ask what their rate was. And I was like, okay, that's what they're charging. Let me add 20% because I knew I worked hard and I was hungry. Like literally and figuratively, I was hungry because I had no plan B and I had no fucking money. I was hungry. I had to commit all in. That's how I knew my value.
Any programs or websites or something? Like what helped you along the way?
This was back in like what, 2012 or 2012? I think Google was out there. Google and the word free business advice. How do you do an LLC? Free. Those were the things like I Googled. I went to DC Department of Community and Regulatory Affairs. There were no resources. That's why I pride myself on Hyper being one today, but there were no resources. There was this, I always say, I leaned into my ignorance to gain better understanding. Most people are afraid to say they don't know nothing because their ego is in the way. If I don't know, that's why I'm gonna ask. And that's one, every time, like, how you get an LLC? Okay, figure that out. Where am I gonna get $600 from? Figure that out. Should I trademark my company name? Figure that out. Watch web tutorials. I just slowly did the work. Yeah. Is this helpful? Because sometimes I feel like I get too heady with it and not like tangible step by step. Is this helpful? You could tell me no.
No, this is extremely helpful. Sometimes you don't need to dumb down things, right? Because everybody heard the basics simplistically or not at all. You said when you're trying to figure this out for you, like, is either too basic, like.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Not to cut you off. So like prime example, right? It was, well, how do you get clients? People used to ask me out all the time. And this was back in the day when we used the word clients. Now we say partner. And I was like, all right, let's keep it fucking simple. I need to make $60,000 a year, right? That year I need to make $60,000. So I said, if I get 6 clients at $10,000 a pop, that's $60,000. So that meant I needed to get 6 clients. So how do I meet 6 clients? Again, this was like almost 10 years ago. So every week I would reach out to 5 developers, do all my research, right? 5 developer weeks, 4 weeks in a month, that's 20. Of those 20, maybe I got a meeting with 4. Of those 4, maybe 1 turned into a client. So it was constantly working that project, but I had to give myself a baseline to start with, and I worked back from it. Just that simple. And if I wanted 6 clients at $10,000, any client that wasn't a 10 or project that wasn't $10,000, that's when you got to assess, is it a short game or a long game? So I would walk away from a client that didn't have $10,000, or I would assess like, are they gonna grow? I want to grow with them. So maybe it was a $6,000 client. That's how I got business early on. That is still how I continue to get new business today. Very simple process.
How did you decide that, or at one point you were like, I think I can afford an employee? How did that, in your mind, I assume there was a magic number.
No, so a couple things. Language matters to me. I don't have employees. I have team members. They work with me, not for me. So I knew I needed a team member when the racial uprising happened in 2020 and the military the DC Guard activated me. And I was like, yo, what the fuck? Who's gonna do this stuff while I'm gone? And then I had to hire a team member. So my team has like it's grew 4 times over in the past 3 years. Now, somebody say, why'd you wait so long? People always want to scale up for the sake of scaling up. I want to scale slow and deep instead of fast and wide. Hire slow, fire fast.
Going back to, because you made a point about language. When did you know that? Were you in bed one day and it's like, this isn't like, or was it always a nagging thing? Will you mention, like I said, employee, like, no, they're team members.
So this is how my brain works. How has it always been done? Okay, why? And what happens if you do it differently? And I think one of the biggest things that plays we don't value our people, right? You know, a lot about the work that I do around design equity is around people and community. And when I say people means the people who do the work, interior designers, architects, landscape. People as in the people who are my development partners, people as in the communities that we serve. So I always wanted to be rooted in people and not titles and hierarchy. So no, I don't have employees. They're my team. And how did I want to be treated? A lot of times, like, I want to know why women call me her fucking employee. It's like, that doesn't garner respect. It reinforces hierarchy, but I wanted it about respect and people. So it's my team. Even like right now, people know Kia, but it's like, actually the company is determined by design. And it's my team that's doing the work and making me look better, right? So I got to stay hyper-focused because I never want to be this like leader that's like, oh yes, it's my firm. No, it's my team, actually. It's my team. Everything I do I don't want anyone to experience. If I had a negative experience, I don't want to replicate it for anyone else. If it's consistently done away and it doesn't get better or yield a greater result, why keep doing it with that? Shift the narrative, change the narrative. Language fucking matters.
Speaking of language, your team members, their title is Design Equity Associate. Mm-hmm. And instead of designer, intern, yeah, it all connects to that. And speaking of design equity, we talked about this offline, and I loved this story. So I'm just gonna let you tell this story because I'll just frame it this way. So initially, I said, you know, I felt like design equity is being used all over the place. And I feel like it's being devalued because everybody's putting in their mission statements and their social media accounts. But come to find out, somebody trademarked it and was like, had this thought years ago, before 2020. What's the story?
So this is what I think So for me, the way I learned how to design is to start with a very strong concept. And the concept is not a style, it's not a theme, all the stuff you typically hear around interior design. A concept is about history, culture, people, communities. So what I started to notice was specific to interior design and architecture, the design decisions weren't rooted in culture, history. It was more things like style, mid-century modern, contemporary, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, a style is an ego. A story is about the people. And I want to design telling the people's story. Wherever said project is, how is that narrative weaved in through to the design? And then I started to look and be like, oh shit, in the communities where people look like me, Black, the projects are trash, they're ugly, they're sand soft materials, they have no intent and they have no integrity and they don't even tell the story of the people, and someone needs to change that. So very early on, I defined design equity. It is a creative, empathetic, and concept-based design approach to provide equitable design outcomes for disenfranchised people and communities. I knew because the work I was doing in the affordable housing space, all I heard was bias after bias after. These people are poor, they don't deserve. These people will tear it up. These people. And these people looked like me. And I was like, it's inequitable. And then we make them live in these drab, hard surface cladded materials and expect different outcomes from the community. And I felt like, and I knew it because it lacked design equity. So I trademarked it. I trademarked it 7 years ago. So now that everyone's talking about it, I'm like, okay, but are you doing the work? And not are you doing the work now, but have you been doing the work? My entire career, my firm's entire portfolio is of doing the work in communities that look like me. That's what design equity is about. It is being unafraid to say to a developer, to the housing authority, to the general contractor, you know what you're doing, it's trash, it's biased. Would you want that for your kid, your mother, your brother, or your loved one? That is what design equity is about. It's challenging every construction and design outcome that is not equal, empathy-based, and rooted in the history of a community. That's what it is. That's what I've been doing. It's not a trope. It's not trendy for me. It is the work that has made me a lot of fucking money. Back to language and what I was saying about language, because everything I do is rooted in the people and my people and wanting things differently for my people. Business is about people. Business 101. They got to like you to want to do business with you. Being in the business of people is why I'm successful. Not in the business of the developer, but in the people that I serve through design. Staying focused on that, that's how I create design equity. That's how I create equitable outcomes.
In your experience, has there been certain predictabilities when you interact with a project?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, all the time.
Like all the time. Like this, you could do a top 5.
Yeah, top 5. I'm gonna always hear this. Oh man, these people are gonna tear this up. They will make some type of reference and or statement to that poor person being destructive, not deserving nice things. We hear it all the time. Never fails.
So you roll your eyes and educate.
I don't even roll my eyes. I smile and educate. Kamora Lee Simmons said this: your smile is your best accessory. So I smile and then I educate. Then things I know I'm going to hear from my fellow architects, my architectural partners. Well, the developer's never done that before. Okay, but they've been doing the exact same way for decades and it's trash. So if you don't have the balls, assuming the architect is a man, which 9 times out of 10 they are, if you don't have the balls to say anything, I have the vagina to say something, so I'll say something. Then we always hear from some type of funding source. Don't make it look too nice for these people. Then we're going to throw in the GC, who's always saying, that thing determined by design specified is too expensive. And then we'll go back and say, show me your receipts, because guess what? I can get better pricing. So never fails, every time.
Continuing on the cost of design. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I picked up from one of your many either read or heard was you used the word transparency. And I thought that was brilliant. Can you just tell the audience about that?
Yeah. So, okay. When I talk about a brick is going to cost the same, whether it's a market rate, a luxury, affordable, a hotel, right? The brick is the cost of a brick, right? What people don't tell you or talk about is all the people who are going to mark that brick up. And sometimes people mark it up so much that you get stuck with siding or hardy board or whatever. And it's just like, well, what happens if we got the brick for the cost that it was? So I learned this the hard way the first time some tile got VE'd out of my project. Now, tile, floor tile, wall tile, 12 by 24, whatever. Right. And they were like, yeah, it was too expensive. And I was like, well, how much was it? And they were like, oh, it came in around like $7 install. I was like, but what is the cost of the actual tile? Oh, we don't know. Well, how can I make a better selection next time if I don't know where to start? And when I say I had to fight just to find out from a contractor, from the subcontractor, what the material cost of my tile needed to be at for it not to get value engineered out. And this is like a multi-unit project. I think it was like 15 units. And I guess I was so confused, like, well, I don't want to spend more money. I want to work in your budget. But if you don't even want to tell me the budget, that means you fucking hiding something. And every step of the way, people wouldn't want to disclose pricing. And I'm like, well, when someone doesn't want to tell you something, 9 times out of 10, it's not because it's a positive thing. It's because they're hiding something. And I think transparency for me is calling everybody to the carpet who does not want to truly disclose the cost of material. And I think that's important to the work that we do, is because you're too busy saying the person doesn't deserve a nice thing. And I'm saying, actually, we can afford the nice thing if you just didn't fucking mark it up 6 different ways. And you know why they do it? Because these are buildings that their families aren't going to live in, assuming the average GC, the estimator, the project manager are white men. Their families aren't living in the projects we're working in, so they really don't care. They're going to mark up. They're going to prioritize money. Transparency for me is key to what we do, and we force their hand every time. It's come to the point now, they either love us or they hate us. They're like, oh my God, here comes Kia. Here comes Determined by Design. Now, and they know. Melissa, they know now. They got to put all their fucking cards on the table. Now they know.
Who's been giving you the most fight in regards to that? Has it been a GC? Has it been an architect? Has it been the client? Like who's been fighting you the most in this transparency?
Oh man, I don't really. I mean,
is it all of the above? Like, is it equal?
I would say it's the GC, but what makes my architectural partners sometimes equally as complicit is they don't fight. They don't fight. They are not in this fight with us as creative partners. I'll give you an example. My team member, Sequoia, she was just on a call for a big project we're doing in New York with the Housing Authority, and architecture firm like 6 times the size as us. And the Housing Authority, the 2 development partners are on this call. And, the developer is trying to make a decision to put tile in the kitchens, right? But still do the wood floor all throughout. And their rationale was the one we always get: these people tear shit up. I'm like, oh my God. Anyway, so the architect is in agreement with us. And it's like, guys, this doesn't even make sense from a cost thing. Like, it doesn't make sense. And the developer and then the Housing Authority are like, no, we're going to do it anyway. And my team member, because they're fucking beasts, they're savages, especially Sequoia. Sequoia uses the 25-cent words. I use the 4-letter words. Sequoia writes this email, and it's like, DBD and the architect explicitly don't think this is good because of all the reasons we outlined, right? Everybody's on this thread. So then the architect calls and it's like, hey, did you know everyone was on that thread? And she was like, yeah, I did. I know what I'm doing. And then the real estate developer and the housing agency walked back that decision. And this is when I say my architectural partners they become complicit or complacent. They were just going to let it go. We were in agreement. They knew it was wrong. And in the hierarchy of development, the architect kind of sits at the top, but they were just going to let it go. And then when the interior designer literally said something to the entire team, like a little boy, like, oh my God, did you really do that? They were even surprised that we were that direct and unrelenting in saying that's a wrong design decision. A firm 4 times the size of ours. This is where the problem comes in with architects. And it's like, y'all know y'all got all the power, right? Like, legit, you do. You oversee the whole fucking team.
They don't.
They damn it. And that shit gets me so mad. And then we look like the angriest Black women coming in here like, no, shitting down everything. But again, I'm not designing for them. I'm designing for the communities and the people who look like me. And people think I wrote this article once called Dear Architect. People think I have a disdain for architects. I really, really don't. And this is why I still say, like, my architectural partner, because we really in this together. You build the buildings for my interiors. My interiors don't exist without your buildings. But yet every step of the way is, oh, real estate developers don't use interior designers on projects like these. But they should though, right? because you know you don't really do interiors well. Because you'll be like, oh my God, we did this great interiors. And it's all hard surfaces in the lobby. Who the fuck wants to walk into an all hard surface lobby? You know what other spaces are like that? Fucking jails and prisons. They don't realize they have the power. And it makes us look combative, and I don't care. That's okay. They fight. Maybe it's the optics. How did this small firm get on the deal? Maybe they don't want the scope creep. They'll throw their interiors fee down so low that it makes ours look high, but yet we still get on the deal. But they don't realize they have all the power. It blows my mind every time. And then they'll say things to me like, Kia, how did you get that developer to spend all that money? I told a better story than you. Oh, well, we can't bite the hand that feeds us. I bite it all the time. It keeps coming back. They're fucking scared because they're chasing the next fee and the next project. I want equitable communities. Our whys are different. They're scared. Blows my mind every time. Every time. I was talking about a long ass rant. God bless whoever edits this.
You mean me?
But you see my point about the power?
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I hear it. You're not the first person on this podcast that has said that architects do not exercise their power. And it comes down to the very first lawsuit that happened like 80 years ago when, collective bargaining and sharing fees, that's when it started. And we started to relinquish our rights, but still take all the responsibility. It's crazy. It really is. And scared shitless for no reason. Like, and I get baffled when they say, oh, equity matters. And I'm like, you don't know what that means. Or even their 2030. Now it's 2130. The whole I don't know if you know this, the whole like environmental like commitment, like whatever. Now
God.
that's the 2130 committee thing going on because they can't meet the 2030 challenge. They can't build zero whatever in that scope that they were promoting for the past decade or two. They're not going to meet the 2030 challenge. And all these firms signed the agreement. And you think they paid attention to any of that stuff? Of course not.
No, but so this is like the bandwagon jumping, right? It's just like, okay, that sounds good, 2030. But if you really think about it, I give you an example. Okay, enterprise green communities. We have to do those standards a lot on our projects. And one of the biggest kind of pain points is even just the word green. I'm gonna walk the word green. It means healthier, good for the environment, good for the people, right? So there's this assumption that's what green means. But while enterprise green community wants us to have an Energy Star labeled light fixture, we can still put LVT in the units and in the common areas. Do you know how toxic LVT is? But it's low, but it's all this other shit that doesn't matter. Like this low emissions, but you still put the toxic ass material in there. So we're working with Healthy Building Materials Labs out of Parson, and we are developing like this truly what is a healthy and beautiful unit, right? Because a lot of the stuff sometimes HML brings to us, like, oh, that shit is healthy, but it's ugly. No, I will take aesthetic, beauty, comfort, softness over health. Healthier, how about that, right? But all these pledges, it's just like you all are still missing the mark. Like you still can't even just get beauty and aesthetic and softness, but you want to jump on the green bandwagon. Not that I don't believe in sustainable building and all that other stuff, but I think there are greater and bigger issues than this 2030 challenge and low emissions, carbon neutral. It just sounds good. It's just like you're like, everybody talking about equity now. Everybody talking about that shit now, but what are you really doing?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's
exactly. Going back to determined by design. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I've stalked you for a while prior to us being here. I remember when you changed your graphics.
Mm-hmm.
So from the get-go, you were, and in the beginning of this conversation, we talked about your makeup artist and your photographer, but You have a brand director, and most people starting out, or even, you're not starting out, but most people, most firms who've been in the business for like decades don't have that. They have a marketing, you have a brand director. I was just like, Kia is like on it. Like, it's just, I'm every time, like, even when you got the Oprah Winfrey,
right? Oh gosh.
I was just like, what? And I had to give you a shout out on that, because it was just like, oh my God. Like, I was just, I mean, I'm envious on so many levels, but it's just your strategy. Like, I'm in love with it. Like,
thank you.
It's just, I don't know if it's a question or a compliment, but I just had to tell you this.
So see, the word you just said, strategy, right? I don't want to say.
Wait, it's not a strategy? That's not the right word. Purposeful?
No, it's just Kia.
It's just Kia.
It's just Kia. Look, okay. All right. We all in a room. Everybody's in a room. Me, you, somebody fancier than both of us, all in a room. And that person is talking, and, something's on their nose, and we're all kind of seeing it, but no one will say anything. And there's a way to speak up and not be like, oh my God, person, something's on your nose. I have just always been unafraid to say or be Kia, fearless, even if it's uncomfortable. So the strategy, if I want to call it, is this like, everyone in this room is thinking that person has something on their nose, but everyone else is afraid to say anything. Well, I guess I'll just be the one that says something. That's not a strategy. That's a way of being. Like, I guess the strategy is everybody's afraid. I'm not. Okay, great. It comes with these, like, you could say it comes with this downfall sometimes, right? I'll give you a very recent example. I won't give too much away, because I recently won an award, and I win all the awards. And I'm at this, fancy dinner, all these illuminaires, and I give a little speech, and in the speech, I curse, right? So then all the other people go around the table, and then they got to say something about me, and then they all start to feel the need to curse. And I'm like, what the fuck are y'all doing? In one instance, it felt like I was becoming a caricature of myself. And then in the other instance, it was like, oh, you all are illuminaires, bigger than me, and you all still haven't shown up as your whole selves in your career. So now at this point, it starts to get like, how is showing up as Kia making more people comfortable, or making more people feel like they have to drop the F-bomb and do all the things that's not authentic? And is that the only way that they see me? Did that make any sense?
Kinda. And I say kinda because what I was going at it is that I don't see other people in our industry doing what you're doing. And
because, yep.
And I don't think it's fear. I think that they don't know how.
Really?
Yes. You will be surprised.
They don't know how to do what?
They don't know. It's just stuck in the past, or stuck because someone else did it this way, therefore it should be done this way. Like, and even like there's a firm, their social media is trash, and it's trash because it doesn't have personality. And it's a typical architecture firm. It's a typical, they post pretty pictures and then give stats, and then that's it. And you don't see the work, the hard work, the dedication, what makes them different than anything. Another example, even with the AIA. So AIA Advocacy put out a memorandum about the Inflation Reduction Act. And I just happen to have, because I'm like on this committee or whatever, and I get this, not on that actual like government relations committee or advocacy committee, but someone forwarded me their letter of, I don't know what the fuck, why they even have this letter. So I'm like, okay, so I go to their social media, they just say, oh, this congressional act has passed, and that's it. But it doesn't tell you how it relates to architects. And it's more than that. And you do more than that. That's what makes you stand out, is because it's not just your cool determined by design DBD logo. It's part of it, but it's more than that. And they don't know that because they're stuck. These old ass white men are stuck. We'll do a press release. What the fuck? Read press releases.
All right, but this is the thing though. It goes back to, and sometimes I feel like a broken record. And you're gonna get this first, and you know my brand director and my coordinator, they probably gonna be pissed. But Determined by Design is turning 10 in 2 months, and our new tagline, already trademarked, is the people's design firm.
What?
Yes,
I love it.
Right? Because I am not selling statistics. I'm not selling research-based design. I am selling design equity and doing the work of the people. Period. And this is why, and this is when you say like people, you said people do what's always been done. And what did I say earlier? Prime example, right? Starting my business, I knew I never wanted an office. Never wanted it. Because I remember there's a big fancy A&D firm in DC, and I met with the owner, and I remember she was like, oh, we have to fill in $1 million a month just to cover our operating costs. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, oh, no, I don't want that overhead. So our team has always been virtual by design. So when COVID happened and everyone's trying to pivot and figure out, my team, we were good. It was business as usual, because this is what I said. How has it always been done? Okay. Has anyone tried anything different? You, no. But we kind of know it don't work. Let's try something different. That doesn't make me like fearless. It's just like, we see it's done this way. We see the firms putting out the same content, and it doesn't say or move people in any other fucking way. Why we keep doing that? Why? And I think that's my strategy. Don't do what other motherfuckers done. There you go. That was a long way to get there, but we got there. Don't do what they've already done. Don't focus on the fee, focus on the people. Value doing the work of the people, of the community, and know it comes at a cost. One of my biggest pet peeves is I tell people, I use the buzzwords, affordable housing, economically challenged communities, design equity. And they go, oh my God, are you a nonprofit? No, motherfucker, I make a lot of money because I'm rooted in doing the work of the people.
And that's another thing that kills me, man. That's another thing that kills me. It's like when you work in communities like ours, all of a sudden it's like you can't make any money. You have to be a nonprofit. No, you don't. It's crazy. I don't understand.
Remember. Me neither. I remember very early on, I was trying to meet with this consultant because I felt like I needed some help. And he was like, well, I hope you just aren't a Black firm that people go to as the minority choice. How much do you charge? And I told him. He was like, oh, wow, you're hot. Yeah, dude. What? Who says that? Like, you thought you could you thought I undervalued myself? I know my worth. I know the importance of the work that we do. Because nobody stands outside the building and goes, man, this building was comfortable.
The problem with the whole affordable housing crisis, besides management hiking up,
oh gosh, okay, go, keep going,
the fees, is the fact that when they're building these new buildings, no one is talking about them biases that are incringed on these communities. You said it 1,000 times throughout this interview, just how biased they are how ignorant they are in thinking that Black and brown people can't have nice things because they are low income.
So it's so funny. Do you know who one of the number one retail consumers are?
Us.
Exactly.
Us.
So that's why when I hear people say like, oh God, I'm not gonna go down. It's like when we do a project, and I'll be specific to DC and like Ward 7, Ward 8, east of the river, and it's gonna be, multifamily with ground floor retail. And the developer is like, well, we can't get a grocery store. The big box grocery stores don't want to come because they look at the area median income and it sees what the AMI of these residents are, and then it doesn't shake out for the big box retailer to come. And I'm just like, folks, I get all that. And again, this is when I think I just said earlier, like I don't really get into numbers and data. They're basing it solely off of the AMI, but not really looking at one of the most Black people are the consumers that spend the fucking most, whether they can afford it or not, good, bad, or indifferent, right? So I hear stuff like that, and it's just like, well, how do you fight for something different? So we have this project that's finishing. Oh, God, it's so glorious. In Arlington, and our development partner, who I adore, and the property management team, I remember very early in the design process, they were like, we don't want any soft seating in the lobby. And I'm like, okay. And the property management guy was like, yeah, we don't want these guys hanging out. We don't want these guys hanging out and smoking in stairwells and hanging out. And I was just like, well, first of all, this is a family building, so I don't know what guys you're talking about, bias language. And then no soft seating, like, we don't want anybody sitting down here. I'm like, okay. Now, in my mind, I'm like, y'all sound so ignorant. Let me not use the word ignorant, because ignorant requires means literally a lack of information. It's bias. So then I had to say, well, guys, what if I'm a mom with a stroller, I have a couple bags, I have another kid, and I need to take a seat for a second before I walk out the door? What if I'm a kid and I'm waiting for my mom and I need somewhere to sit to be like, hey, mom, where are you? I'm calling an Uber. What if I'm an old person that needs to catch my breath? So we had to do all these empathy-based exercises to kind of reframe why they didn't want soft seating. And our compromise, we did this glorious platform, like stadium seating in the lobby with cushions and this green wall. But it's the bias part. It's like at no point did they think about it from an empathy lens. All they could see is, we don't want soft seating because these people will tear it up. And our jobs as creative people who build communities is to challenge that. And I think we don't challenge because we want to be on the next deal and the next deal.
Yeah. And that's a trigger. That was really a trigger for me, because I used to live in the housing projects, and this even made like this Washington City paper. So the building is Tyler House, and they had a lobby, and it was like decades ago. And it was a nice lobby because they renovated it. And then they ended up putting up signs and eventually roping off the lobby area, the seating area, because they didn't want anybody to sit there. So it became a museum piece, basically, of couches, tables, and chairs.
Are you serious?
Dead ass. And tenant association was like, what the hell is this? We can't sit here because they don't want them to congregate.
But see, poor people hang out and congregate. The market people in the market rate building, they need to gather. They need a place to gather. They need amenities. But God forbid Black people sit together and foster community. God forbid poor people have a place of respite if they need it when they walk in their front door, because the lobby is their front door. And if we were in middle America and it was poor white people living in a building in Wichita, Kansas, I would be saying the same thing. People from disenfranchised communities need more spaces of respite, however they can get it, and places to foster community and gathering, period.
How many dormitories have you been into? College dormitories?
Oh,
and they have seating
everywhere, everywhere,
everywhere, everywhere,
everywhere.
everywhere. And by the end of the semester, a lamp is missing because it's in somebody's dorm room.
Oh,
Or
see. No. That's too much of a easy. This is my favorite one. I remember we worked for a firm. No, I heard a story. Someone was like, it was a hotel lobby, and they were telling me how like the security camera saw it was this drunk ass white man, and there was this figurine like dog on a shelf. They literally, the dog was glued down, secured down. They literally watched the man take the entire shelf and the dog. But yet no one says in the hotel, like, glue this stuff down. People will be destructive and vandalize any and everywhere if that's what they choose to do. So it's like college, things get beat up. That's just what happens. But it's affluent people who do it too. It's just not poor people. And I would hypothesize poor people take better care of things that have a visual aesthetic value because they don't have access to it frequently.
who invented the plastic on the couches? We did.
Go to your grandmama's house, your grandparents' house.
Right now.
Fully covered. Fully covered. We had a project and the developer was like, are you guys going to glue down all those accessories? I was like, no. First of all, we ain't got no fucking time for that. And second of all, no. And they're like, oh, we don't want things to walk. I come back to the property like 6-8 months later. Property looks exactly the same. They were like, yo, the residents make sure everything is exactly where it's supposed to be. And this is a building where 15 of the units were for people who were chronically homeless. And that just reiterates this point that like when someone ain't has something nice and of value, they appreciate it and they want to take care of it. It's the bias of others that think they just want to be destructive and trash it.
What's next for you? Besides your 10 years.
Right.
Time flies.
So, time does fly. But I tell you, I've been having so much fucking fun. I have fun. I have a dope ass team. And I'm in this very interesting place where, someone was like, here, there's no more awards for you to win. Like, you've got them all. You got the Honorary Doctorate. You got the Oprah Daily. You got Designer of the Year. You got the magazine cover. And it's a very kind of like, well, what do I want to do next? I also teach full time at Savannah College of Art and Design in Atlanta. So two things I'm excited about. One is this partnership we're doing with the Healthy Building Materials Lab of truly identifying how to create a beautiful and healthy unit. And then also we are maybe about 2 weeks away from starting to rewrite the design standards for the DC Housing Authority's senior project properties. That's 14 properties and 1,800 units. So I love being able to start working on policy because setting those standards, I guarantee you there's never been an interior designer leading that charge. It is a partnership with another architecture firm, but we will be leading the charge and getting the most fees. So that's on the horizon. And I'm going to enter into like the VC space for a new project and initiative that I'm working on. I can't give too much away of it yet, but I will probably just like go under the radar for like 2 years to really launch this next thing. That's what I'm excited about, figuring out what's next for Kia. Determined by Design is set. My team is the business. So they give me the grace to be able to move a little bit further away from the company. It's my baby. It will always be my baby, but that's what's next. Like what happens when you like, what do you do when you build a thing? How do you catapult off of it? That's what I'm figuring out. I'm figuring out right now.
That's exciting. That's what, I mean, you're at the top. How much higher can you go? And you can go higher. You still haven't touched the cloud yet.
No. Can I tell you like a really like, can I tell a quick story?
Sure.
So I had a white woman recently reach out to me, and I've known her most of my career. And she was like, "Hey, can we get together?" I was like, "Yeah, what's up?" And she was like, "I don't think you know like how big you are and like your impact on the industry. And I don't know what you want to do next, but how can I help you?" And I was like, "What?" And she was like, "Yeah, I don't know if I'm a good resource for you. I might know some people. Just how can I help you?" And I
The caucasity.
no, I appreciated it.
Really? I would be
Yeah.
so offended.
No. So this is why, because I think white women at times, just say this so problematic. I don't think we got time for that. But she was really just saying, like, I want to help. I don't know if you need my help, but I'm here if you need me. And I can make this introduction. Let me know if it's of value. And it ended up being of value. Unsolicited, but I I was like, okay. Because I've built a business with no resources. This next thing I want to do, I know I need resources and connections and relationships. She didn't know that. I knew it. And here it was presenting itself to me from a white woman of all places that ended up working in my favor.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And you understand why I was shocked, right?
No, tell me why. Why?
Because like I said before, you are at the top. You won all these awards. You're in all these things. You're on all these boards. You are at the top. And here she goes, "I think you need some help." Like that's what I took that as.
No, it was like, do you need anything else? And because okay.
Because you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't go up to somebody that's above you. Or do you consider her, how about this question? Do you consider her your equal?
She's probably above me.
Oh, okay. All right.
She's above me in industry. She works for the top. She works for like the top A&E firm, largest in the world.
Okay. All right. So I'll eat my words then. I'll eat my words because I just thought that if you deemed her as like above you and she's like, yeah, hey, since I'm up here, I could help you with other things because I know more people or like whatever connection she may have that you may need. But yeah. Okay. All right. So, I'll eat my words.
But as a Black woman, and it's so funny, right? And sitting in this, having this meeting with her, I said, yeah. I just recently did this thing because I wanted, it looked good on my resume. And she's so scared. See, I think that's my point. You don't need to do another thing to boost your resume. It's legit. It's there. Sometimes I don't see myself the way other people see me because I'm just here.
You just can't.
All the awards, all the things. But I think as Black women, we still feel like, well, I got to do something else. Well, how I one up that? How do I one up that? How do I one up that? And here this woman is saying, like, actually, you've made it, whatever that means to you. What you want to do next, and how can I help you? And I don't. It's not, oh, I'm humbled. No, I had a beast of a work ethic. I was destined to be this. But damn it, a prime example, a thing that I still struggle with as a business owner is my taxes and my tax structure. The white people got that on lock. So that's a resource I still need. This next venture that I'm about to start, going into the VC space, I've never been there. I'm going to need resources. We always feel like it has to be hard. Actually, I want some ease in my next business venture. And I'm going to need people who've done it, who are bigger than me, have greater access, resource, and capital to do it. So it felt good to not to have to ask for it. Because how many Black men like to ask for help? It came to me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different, it's kind of like quiet luxury. That's what I like to think of it as.
Yeah, so absolutely.
It's like carrying a handbag with no logos, but the shit's like 5 bands or something. Like but nobody knows this. Everybody all with the double G's and the double C's and The LVs.
Yeah, it's yeah. I want to. Yeah, so if you be like, where'd Kia go? Like, she did my podcast. I ain't heard. Like, is I just want to not quietly, intentionally do this next thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I will continue to stalk you.
You can call me, girl. That's all right. We can also just get together for drinks and break bread together too.
Oh, quick question. How you know Nikita? I always mess up her name.
Oh,
y'all went to school.
Know each other.
Yeah, went to school
No.
together. No.
It was on some like how I meet. You black, I'm black. We in the same space. We should know each other. Okay, girl.
Oh.
That's how it. And then this is even better. Like, you black, I'm black. We in the same space. Let me throw some business your way. You gonna throw some business my way too? You got. That's how it goes every single time.
Oh.
Yeah. She and I just had dinner a couple months ago too. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me DM you and be like, I'll do your podcast and making space for me.
I was like, oh my God. I didn't know she knew I existed, and I'll take it. Yes.
Yeah. This might be my last podcast for a long time. So thank you. Thank you for making space for me. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you.
All right, bye. Hey, listeners. I have an exciting announcement. I decided to launch a membership program for the show, where you have a chance to support me and the show directly. I love creating this show, and it means the world to me that you all tune in to keep hearing me week after week. But it takes an immense amount of time and energy to produce. I want to keep the show going, and I want to invest in its growth. And I also want you to become a partner with me in this journey. That's why I'm excited to give you a chance to officially become a supporter of the show at glow.fm/archispolly, ARCHISPOLLY, or by clicking the link in the show notes. It's quick and easy. It takes less than 30 seconds and just takes clicking a link in the show notes and using Apple or Google Pay. You don't have to create any new logins, and you can contribute as much or as little as you like. If this show is part of your day or week, and you like what I'm doing, then visit glow.fm/archispolly, all one word, and support me and the show in any way you can today.